Welcome to Mobile News Weekly. I'm Martha DeGrasse. This week, we'll take you inside the world of a mobile app developer, give you the lowdown on Sprint's 4G phone, and update you on the status of Wimax around the world. But first, a sad but not surprising announcement from Apple this week. Steve Jobs is resigning and handing the CEO job over to his top deputy, Tim Cook. Jobs has been battling pancreatic cancer for 7 years, but that has not stopped him from changing the wireless world with products like the iPod, iPhone, and iPad. In his resignation letter, Jobs said, "I believe Apple's brightest and most innovative days are ahead of it, and I look forward to watching and contributing to its success in a new role." Jobs is now chairman of Apple's board of directors. Steve Jobs founded Apple in 1976 and introduced the first Apple Macintosh in 1984. The very next year, Jobs resigned from Apple after losing a power struggle with the board of directors. Jobs founded a new company called Next and ran that company for 12 years until Apple acquired it in order to bring Steve Jobs back on board. That was 14 years ago, and back then you could buy a share of Apple stock for $4. That share is now worth about $370. Apple stock did sell off some after the announcement of Jobs' resignation, but it did bounce back after that initial decline. Investors also learned this week that the iPhone 5 is now expected in early October and that Sprint Nextel will be one of the carriers selling the phone. Sprint is already selling a 4G phone, the Samsung Google Nexus S 4G. We'll review that phone for you when Mobile News Weekly continues. The Samsung Google Nexus S 4G retails for about $400. That's, of course, cheaper than some 3G phones. Is this smartphone a smart choice? RCR's Parker Severance takes a closer look.
Today, the device that we're reviewing is the Samsung Google Nexus S 4G phone, which operates with Sprint's Wimax network. Now, this phone was released in May of this year, but just in case you haven't seen it yet, we thought we'd give you the scoop. So this is the Google Samsung Nexus S 4G phone. As you can see, it has a 4-inch touchscreen, and the colors are fairly bright, actually really bright, and the screen's pretty crisp. The phone, you can see itself is slightly curved, which is said to fit the contour of one's face better. Now, I don't know if that's actually true, but they did it. So this is running Android 2.3, which we know is the Gingerbread platform. And the Samsung website said this is pure Google, and it runs Google apps with lightning speed and smoothness, which seems to be true. There are no preset Sprint apps on the phone. It is pure Google. And from what I've seen, the response is very quick. It has a 1 gigahertz ARM Cortex processor, which is the Hummingbird chipset from Samsung. All right, so let's talk about the wireless networks a little bit. It has a Wi-Fi option, obviously, and Bluetooth. Now, if you're going to want to run the Wi-Fi or the portable hotspot, which it has, or USB tethering, you definitely want it plugged in because it'll eat your battery alive. Now, the cool thing about this phone is it has the NFC, which, if you don't know what that is, that's near field communications. So basically, that's for transactions for mobile money, which is really cool. They're starting to put it in a lot of phones now, but this one already has it. So the camera, there is a front-facing camera and a back-facing camera, as you can see. Both run 5 megapixels, which is not that impressive, especially for the back camera on a phone like this. But it does have flash, and it also has autofocus while you're filming. All right, so let's look inside here. We have the battery. There is no option for a SIM card, obviously, and then there's no SD card as I can see, which is surprising. The phone does have 16 gigabytes of internal memory and 512 megabytes of RAM, but no SD card. And that was the Samsung Google Nexus S 4G phone. Thanks for watching RCR Wireless's weekly device review.
Sprint's 4G service uses Wimax technology, not the newer LTE technology. We'll have more on Wimax versus LTE when Mobile News Weekly continues. Welcome back. While Sprint is the only major U.S. carrier using Wimax, the technology continues to dominate in many other markets. Sylvie Barak has the story.
With much of the buzz in the mobile industry centered around LTE and its impending global deployment, many have been quick to declare Wimax dead. But with Wimax networks deployed in 150 countries serving around 1 billion people, could reports of the technology's demise have been wildly exaggerated? Though the term 4G has been mostly muddied by mobile marketeers worldwide, the fact remains that Wimax is actually the most widespread 4G network currently available, and to the customer who cares little about the technical specifications, it hardly matters, as long as it's faster than what they currently have.
I see the ads in the U.S. on 4G, and every operator is claiming 4G, whether it is or it isn't. And so when we compare what Wimax delivers and LTE delivers in 4G, they're very comparable because they're based on the same fundamental air interface technology. The primary difference is in the network.
It's also worth noting that while the large North American operators and the GSMA have thrown themselves firmly behind LTE, mainly due to spectrum availability, the business case for LTE in the rest of the world may not be as cut and dried, with many smaller operators finding value in Wimax's ease of deployment and lower cost.
Operators are worried, but at the end of the day, they know they can get the better value today if they deploy Wimax now and then figure out what they'd like to do in the future.
In terms of DAS coverage, too, Wimax seemingly has an advantage for supporting 3G and 4G networks indoors, something LTE is still incapable of.
Even if Clearwire came out tomorrow and said we're going to deploy a TD LTE network, it wouldn't mean that Wimax was dead as a whole, nor would it mean Wimax is dead as a whole for Clearwire. They have millions of subscribers they have to continue to support, and because of that, I mean, Wimax isn't going to go away anytime soon. I think, a lot of the talk we've had around here is one of the things to remember is that changes with networks and technologies take time. Operators looking to deploy TD LTE, which I think, over time most of the Wimax operators will do, is going to take a long time because, not only do they have to deploy the networks, there's regulatory issues that they have to get involved with, they have to go back and look at the core of their networks, they have to make decisions on services. How are they going to transition their existing customers over to the new network? So they're going to offer different types of services. So no, I would say no way that Wimax is dead or even Wimax operators themselves are dead. It's just that they're kind of in a period of transition at this time.
So while the mobile industry may like to present the Wimax LTE battle as a black and white war already won by the latter, after so many years of development, so many billions of dollars spent, and so much still at stake, Wimax doesn't seem to have kicked the bucket just yet. This is Sylvie Barak, RCR Wireless News in San Francisco.
As Sylvie mentioned, most mobile phone users don't care too much about the technology behind their phones. They care much more about the apps on their phones. When we come back, we'll show you what it's like to be a mobile app developer.
Mobile app developer obviously develops mobile apps, but that takes what people want as far as their needs for the software and figures out how to do that in a mobile environment with constrained resources.
But it really has two pieces to it. One is the front-end app that's on the actual mobile device, but then there's a server in the background that really, for an app like ours, for social networking, you really have to have a lot of services and data that's required by the app in order to work properly. And so it's really, two pieces to the same thing.
I think you could be a very good mobile developer without any formal degrees or formal educations. It's like most of what you learn is going to be learned through experience.
I went to both my undergraduate as well as my graduate degree program at the University of Texas. Both programs, I'd say, helped quite a bit, and they helped by not only giving me a foundation, but more importantly by networking with peers.
I went to Trinity University and got a computer science bachelor's, and then I also did a master's of computer science at University of Texas San Antonio while I was working. And I would say it really does help. It gives you a footing in, some of the technologies that we use today. Is like you don't have to have the degree to do the job, but it really gives the, the underpinnings.
There's some stuff that you would pick up on your own naturally, and there's other stuff that you just sort of eventually remember, oh, there was this thing that I learned years ago. I don't think it's a requirement for a mobile developer.
Really, day to day it changes. At a startup with 4 people, there's so much to do, and so few of us to do it that on any day it's just whatever's the highest priority. So we might go from, like, right now I'm reworking our metric system to optimizing our email campaigns and the way that we track that.
Because the average day, I'll come in and basically just be doing the same thing I did before. But there's like a 50% chance that everything's going to change. Right. And so you pick up from there and you just sort of look at what effectively needs to be done and how quickly does it need to be done.
Well, as the CEO of a startup, I spend probably 30 to 40% of my time trying to raise money. I'd say I spend maybe another 30% doing design work, and then that last 30 or 40% I spend trying to understand enough about what everyone else is doing at the company to make sure we're headed in the right direction.
The worst thing is probably developing for Android in general. With Android, you have, I think it's like 9 or 10 different versions of Android sitting in the marketplace, and then on top of that you might have version 2.2, but you'd have Motorola's own different version for 2.2 and HTC's own different version for 2.2, and with all the extra junk that they stick into the operating system, you're basically have to go out and pick up as many devices as you can.
Really, there's a lot to do and not enough time, and that's the thing that kind of kills you because you see all the opportunities, and so it's really just about focusing what should I be working on today.
Seeing people actually use our product, that's far and away the most satisfying experience, and the thing that I think keeps us all going through the long, cold night that is a startup.
You'll go to the bars and you'll see people will get excited sometimes. They'll be like, oh my god, I use this. I remember about a year ago I was at a bar and somebody asked me what I did, and I told them that I was like, oh, I work for an app company that lets you pay your bar tab, and this girl shot me this like mean look, and she's like, yeah, somebody already did that. It's called Tabbed Out. I'm like, yep, that'd be me.
My advice for anyone who's starting a company in the social mobile arena is to be very, very humble with what you're trying to solve. Pick a very precise problem, and pick a problem that the solution is an incremental difference from something people are already doing.
And then, but I mean, this great thing is that the industry is growing. It's going towards mobile, and if you're a working developer, it's not too difficult to get a job.
I think if you want to become a mobile developer, the best thing to do is to just do it. Download the tools and start working on it. The one thing I would say is that as much as I hate on Android for the device SKU, there's a larger demand for Android developers because there's less people that want to do it.
Thank you so much for joining us for RCR Wireless Mobile News Weekly.